Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with a Spain news update, and Spain's election campaign has officially kicked off, elections being held later in the month on the 23rd of July, and early polling is showing that the right side of politics has a slight advantage, but not enough for an absolute majority. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that have left comments on the channel recently. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual, and thanks to people that have supported the channel either by buying me a coffee through the new Super Thanks option or long-term supporters through Patreon. Thank you very much for that support. Now let's get straight into the news, and as I said, Spain's election campaign has officially started, and early polling suggesting that the right-wing side of politics is out in front, but not by much. As we can read here, the Spanish right starts election campaign with an advantage, but without reaching a majority. The right is the clear favourite for the 23rd of July elections, but the scenario is still open. This is the main conclusion of the first of the 40 dB polls that El País and Cadena SER will offer daily during the campaign to follow the evolution of voting intentions for each of the parties. The gap between the PP and the PSOE has been narrowing for 2 weeks, and at the moment the right-wing party has 169 seats, insufficient to guarantee an absolute majority and the formation of government. And if we have a look at a graph with the results from this poll, we can see that Vox there on the right estimated to get around 42 seats in Parliament, the PP around 127, other parties 31, the PSOE 113, and the new party Sumar around 37 seats they will get according to this poll. So fairly clear from that graph that the right side of politics, Vox and the Partido Popular, have a slight advantage going in to the elections on the 23rd of June, but Pedro Sánchez and company making up ground, basically due to the fact that he has been on every television station on all of the main television programs over the last 2 weeks, and people might be changing their opinion of him. Time will tell. Now, another piece of news that caught my attention related to the environment here in Spain, the fragile Spanish environment, and Greenpeace is putting out the warnings. And as we can read here, Spain is getting hotter, drier and more flammable due to climate change, according to Greenpeace. Spain is already experiencing severe impacts from climate change, a new report from Greenpeace reveals. Published today, the 5th of July, by the organisation's science unit at the University of Exeter, it outlines what the climate crisis could do to the country. Projections indicate that if Spain does not cut severely the emissions that cause global warming, the country will become hotter, drier, more arid and flammable, says Maria José Caballero, unit head of the rapid response at Greenpeace Spain. It will experience more floods and high-intensity fires and the impacts of sea level rise. The data in the report shows the urgency of cutting emissions and tackling the climate crisis by taking ambitious measures to which all political parties must commit. So there we go, that's the environmental situation here in Spain. According to Greenpeace, the country's getting hotter, drier and more flammable thanks to climate change. And no doubt this summer we'll see the impact that those high-intensity fires have on the fragile environment here. Now, the next piece of news today takes us to the coastal resort of Benidorm and a fake cannabis club that was set up there. And as we can read, 5 people have been arrested for selling drugs at fake cannabis club in Benidorm. The National Police have arrested 5 people aged between 20 and 28 and have dismantled a point of sale and consumption of drugs in the centre of Benidorm, Alicante, that operated under the legal guise of a cannabis club, but without any record of its activity. The agents focused their efforts on obtaining evidence of the possible sale of narcotic substances inside the establishment, and thus managed to detect several customers who entered the premises and left a few minutes later without having had time to consume any type of substance inside. So there we go, 5 people arrested in Benidorm for setting up an illegal cannabis club. As we know, here in Spain, cannabis clubs are legal in certain municipalities, in certain autonomous communities. I don't think in every autonomous community you will find cannabis clubs, but here in Madrid, yes, you will find them. In Alicante, Valencian community as well, legal ones. Also in Catalonia, you can find cannabis clubs. But those people there in Benidorm thinking that it would be a good idea to set up an illegal cannabis nightclub. Don't worry about getting a license, that's too hard. Just open up a shop and sell cannabis to tourists mainly that are passing through the area. Pretty stupid in my opinion. And the final piece of news today related to one of my favourite topics, beer drinking, and Spain apparently has a new preferred beer. Can you guess what it is? As we can read here, Estrella Galicia is now the preferred beer in 32 provinces in Spain. The Galician beer Estrella Galicia, produced in A Coruña by Hijos de Rivera, continues its conquest of Spanish palates. The latest annual study by Datacentric, which is usually carried out by autonomous region, has this year a version by province which shows the extent to which this beer is appreciated. Estrella Galicia is the favourite beer of the inhabitants of 32 of the 50 Spanish provinces, as well as in the 2 autonomous cities of Ceuta and Melilla. The map shows how the beer from A Coruña has taken over the entire northwest of the peninsula and the Cantabrian coast, as well as a large part of the Levante region. Only Estrella Damm in Catalonia, Mau in Madrid, and Estrella del Levante in Murcia resist in their respective regions. The rest of the traditionally dominant brands in their own region have already had some provinces invaded by the Galician resistance. And here, if we have a look at a map of beer consumption in Spain, we can see how that brand, Estrella Galicia, is slowly taking over the country. Bit of resistance still in Madrid, bit of resistance as we saw in Catalonia, a little bit of resistance in Murcia, but that's about it. And I don't know about you, but I'm definitely going to crack open a cold one later this afternoon, and highly likely it's going to be an Estrella Galicia because I like that beer. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from John: Whole Foods has always been expensive, including times when we had Republican presidents. The nickname is Whole Paycheck. Yeah, John, thanks for the comment. And the topic of Whole Foods popped up earlier in the week during a live stream. I think somebody asked whether or not we had Whole Foods here in Spain. The answer is no. I think they only have a presence in Canada, the United States, and maybe England. Here in Spain, there is no Whole Foods. Somebody pointed out that Whole Foods now belongs to Amazon, so maybe they're coming through the Amazon brand here too. I don't know. There is an Amazon brand called Fresh, so maybe that is related to Whole Foods, but as I said, I've got no idea. And somebody also mentioned that Whole Foods is particularly expensive at the moment because of Biden economics. Lots of people said that that is not the case. Whole Foods has always been an expensive outlet, got nothing to do with Joe Biden's running of the economy. It was expensive during Republican times, expensive during previous Democrat times. It's always been an expensive supermarket. So people refuting that claim that Joe Biden is responsible for high prices at Whole Foods. Another comment here from Jacques: cash is king. Yeah, Jacques, thanks for the comment. Another topic that we have been talking about this week. Somebody asked the other day whether or not cash is still king here in Spain or whether card use is more prominent. The fact of the matter is that more and more people are using cards. You go to a lot of businesses, they prefer you to use cards over cash, and some businesses apparently are no longer accepting cash. There are limits on how much cash you can use. I think it's 1,000 euros. You can't spend more than 1,000 euros in cash, and every couple of years that amount comes down. It was 2,000 a few years ago, then it went down to 1,500, I believe, and now it sits at 1,000 euros, the biggest cash transaction that you can make in this country. The European Union wants to keep cash alive because there are people that are excluded from the economy if they can't use cash, elderly members of the community and people that don't like to use technology or credit cards or debit cards or their mobile phone to pay. So the EU wants to keep cash alive, but it's not going to be easy, and I think they're going to have to regulate because, as I said before, a lot of people prefer not to use cash anymore. It's easier to tap and go. Another comment here from Patrick: how do you tip if using a card or mobile device? Just round up cost by 5 or 10%. Yeah, Patrick, thanks for the comment, and you're right, you can leave tips if you use a card. As Patrick suggests, just round up by 5 or 10%, depending on how much you want to give to the wait staff. But what I normally do is carry a few euros in my pocket always. A little bit of cash always comes in handy, and let's be honest, you can still use cash, and that means that you can give your tip directly to the waiter that served your table, and perhaps it doesn't go into the account of the owner of that establishment, and that's what a lot of people are worried about when tipping with their cards. But it can be done, and using a credit card or debit card is no excuse not to leave a tip. One here from Paul's thinking of moving to Spain in the future and wondering how, if at all, any of the politics you cover on the channel affect you on a daily basis. You devote a lot of time to it, and I'm just wondering what the impact is. Yeah, Paul, thanks for the comment, and the answer is yes. The politics that I talk about on this channel do affect our daily lives in some way, shape or form, some more than others of course, especially when it comes to economic matters. Because I work here in Spain, I'm part of the Spanish economy in that regard. I'm self-employed, so some of the politics is very, very important to me. Of course, if you come down here on holiday, a lot of the politics might not affect you, and also if you come down here as a retiree getting your pension from another country, the local politics might not affect you, but then again, it might. So always a good idea to be up to speed on what is happening, in my opinion. And the reason I talk about politics a lot on this channel is that there is a big foreign community in this country that speaks English and want to know what's going on. People are interested in the politics here, and also outside of Spain, people that have an interest in the country want to know what's going on. So that is why I talk about politics here, and a lot of people seem to be interested. On that note, I'm going to wrap the video up. Questions and comments also, please leave them in that comment section. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.